So without further delay, I'd like to introduce Dr. Ali Talib Al Raisi. I want to ask you a question. How many of you can teach maths and karate at the same time? Try to put your hands up if you can. Okay, that's Ali for you.
Good afternoon, everybody. I guess everyone is waiting for their... Good afternoon, everybody. Can you hear me? Yeah. I guess everybody is waiting for the lunch break, so I'll try to make this short. It's very difficult to follow such a great speaker. So when I was asked to participate in this conference, I was thinking what would somebody with my background could contribute to a conference about critical skill development, right? So I was thinking I'm going to bring what I've learned, the lessons I've learned from the great teachers I've had in the past in martial arts, and the lessons I'm trying to instill into my students in my karate studio with some of my coaches who are present here, into our kids. Okay, so let me ask you a question before we start. Who believes here in this room today that they don't spend enough time on their computers or cell phones or TVs? Who haven't spent enough time today on any of these gadgets? Clearly, everybody is doing too much of these things, right? Maybe more than we need to, right? So maybe I'm going to leave the mic on this. Yeah, it's going to be difficult. 8 hours. Yeah, I usually set mine to 6 hours, and I usually run over that. So yes. So in this world that we're living in, we're spending plenty of time every day on our gadgets, whether they're our tablets, our cell phones, our laptops. When we get home, we're on our TVs, streaming movies, YouTube videos, and whatever, right? So there are many benefits into moving into a digital world, right? But that also has many different side effects, correct? So in some way, we are forced to engage with these practices, right? Everything is becoming more digital. For example, government transactions, education on the level of schools and universities, even socializing becoming more of a digital thing, right? So as useful as these things are, they can have very detrimental side effects, okay? So two of the main side effects that I'm going to talk about are the physiological effects and the psychological effects. Sorry if there are any typos in this. I just did it literally an hour before coming here. I came straight from lecture, so. So I will be talking about the physiological side effects and some of the psychological side effects that moving into a digital realm causes. And we'll see how we can remedy these or lessen them through the practice of martial arts and sports in general. So, okay, so some of the physiological effects. In a recent study, I was shocked actually when I read this, when I was researching. In a recent study, it was found that around 60% of people in Oman are in the category of overweight or obese, 30% of which have BMI of 30 or more. That is considered obese if you have BMI of more than 30. Obesity and overweight, everybody is aware of the dangers. You know, it's associated with large decrease in life expectancy, an increase in mortality rate. It has disadvantaging consequences in terms of economic impact, both associated with treatment and cost and decrease in productivity. So how can we prepare for 2040 in a world that's becoming more digital in a way that we lessen these physiological effects on our people so they can live longer, so they can innovate longer, and at the same time they become more productive. Psychological effects, right? So let's say I feel hungry right now. It's very simple, right? I just get on my phone, I go through Talabat or Akid, and I order whatever I want. I feel bored, I just open my phone and I watch some videos, you know, on YouTube, right? I get home, I hear about this movie, I just go home and I start streaming it on Netflix. Everything is becoming easier and easier every day. I hear about a book my colleagues are reading, I can order it on my Kindle, right? So you see, we are as we are moving into the more of the digital realm, and technology is getting faster, we're becoming less and less patient every day, right? So these are some of the studies. So this is an interesting study at UMass Amherst It was conducted with over 6 million people, and it found that if a video took more than 2 seconds to load, people usually abort the video. Most of the people, 2 seconds. So we were becoming very impatient, okay? Another survey found that when people open a web page, they usually only read 20% of the text there, right? So we need this instant gratification. We need things to be done quickly. If they are not, we quit. We start doing something else. Okay, so let me see if yes. So you could be asking, maybe this is not dangerous, it's good, you know? We can get everything we want fast. Any book we read, so this shortens the time. And so why is this dangerous, actually? So, okay, so maybe some of you, or many of you are familiar with this, right? This is called the Marshmallow Experiment. It was conducted in the 1960s by an American psychologist at Stanford, Walter Mitchell. And what he did, it was a very interesting experiment. I urge everybody to look at it. There are many recreations of this experiments on YouTube. So what they did is actually a very cute experiment. They brought a kid into a room at 4 years old, and they put a piece of marshmallow in front of him. And they asked the experimenter told the kid, you could wait till I get back to the room and you'll get 2 marshmallows under the condition you do not touch this one. Correct? Versus if you ate it now when I come back, you don't get a second one, right? Like this idea of delayed gratification. So, of course, some of the kids succeeded and they could wait. Some of the kids failed. But what is really interesting about this study is 10 years later, the experimenters followed the kids. And they found the following, you know. The kids who could wait for the second marshmallow were more successful, more academically and socially competent than their peers, and more able to cope with frustration and resist temptation. This is 10 years after the experiment. So this was one of the best predictors for success in the future. The ability to delay gratifications, okay? And again, as we live in this digital world, our ability, and especially our kids' ability at an early age where the brain is very malleable, is decreasing, right? Because we're waiting for everything. We don't want to wait. We just want to get everything at that moment. So you see we're losing this very important character of patience, okay? So now more recently, in the early 2000s, an American psychologist, Angela Duckworth, was studying people in high-pressure situations. So she was looking at West Point Military Academy students, kids at National Spelling Bees, students in New York City public schools, and sales representatives. And she was trying to ask, what is the one character that can predict success in all these situations? What is the one thing that if I know if a person possesses, he will be successful? So many people are there are many different conjectures like socioeconomic status, IQ, maybe good looks for sales representatives. And it turns out that the one thing that can predict success the best is what she calls grit, is the term calls grit. I think this is already, the term was already there, but she made it very popular. So what is grit, actually? Grit is courage, resolve, trying something again and again, not giving up till you succeed, okay? So you can see this is, again, opposite of what's happening now in the world. People don't like something, they want something at that instant, they don't like it, it's not there, they go into something else. So unfortunately, not much is known about grit, or how we have it, or how can we possess it. But one thing that we know now about grit is you can develop grit in kids by developing this thing called the growth mindset. So in psychology, there are 2 kinds of mindsets that I refer to. Usually there's something called the growth mindset, and there's something called the fixed mindset. So growth mindset was coined by Carol Dweck in Stanford University, and basically it is the belief that if you work hard enough on something, you study it, you're going to improve your ability in learning that thing. Versus a fixed mindset, which is the belief that no matter how hard you work on something, it's whether you're going to be good or not is predetermined. Versus the growth mindset. So it's now understood that the more the person or the kid believes in the growth mindset, the better he's going to be at grit. And as you saw, grit is a common factor in success in many areas, right? So how can we develop grit through martial arts training? That's what we're going to talk about, okay? So how can martial arts be the answer to these issues, right? The physiological and the psychological issues. There's nothing. This doesn't only apply to martial arts. It could apply to other sports also. So in general, but martial arts specifically has very unique qualities as sports and also as discipline. So if you look at martial arts as sport, it requires many physical qualities. It's not, some sports maybe require speed, some sports require power, some sports require agility, some flexibility, some coordination. Martial arts is one of these sports that require many different qualities: speed, power, coordination, mobility, balance, endurance. And these qualities together makes a very fit person, right? So as you can see here, one of our students, one of my best students, best students performing a sidekick, which, you know, is a very good example of flexibility, balance, and coordination, okay? So that is something that you can, you know, you can achieve only by training a sport that has, you know, that requires all these different kind of skills together. So this addresses the physiological problems and how we can fix them, fix all these physiological issues by practicing martial arts. Now more into the psychological issues of this age that could be remedied and fixed by the training of martial arts, okay? So as martial arts as a discipline instills many, many great qualities in practitioners, right? So few of these are patience, okay? You really learn that you need to be patient, work something literally thousands of times over the course of 10, 20 years to master it, right? Courage. You always face your fears. Be the fear of, you know, performing in front of the class or performing in front of thousands of people in a tournament or facing somebody in a match where, you know, you are under the danger of getting kicked and punched. So you really start to face your fears. Through practicing martial arts. Perseverance, you know, you fail. This is a very common thing in martial arts. You fail, you try. You fail, you try again. You fail, you try again until you succeed. Value of hard work. One of the things I always tell the parents, and that brings the kids to my school, that the most beneficial thing I've learned from my practice in martial arts is that I learned to associate hard work with results. And this is a very important thing for kids to understand. If you need something, you want to work, you want to achieve something, you got to work for it. This is a very good value to instill in our kids. Respect of time and space. The first thing you do in karate, as soon as you come to the room, you bow to the you bow to the dojo or the floor mat. When you leave, you bow. You respect your colleagues. You respect your teachers. The value of teamwork. Again, you know, extending on the previous point, respect is very important, and helping one another, and teamwork is also encouraged always in a martial arts school, and many more. Okay, so this is okay. So let's talk about the growth mindset for a second. So let's look at a scenario of a kid who's 5 or 6 years old. He comes to a karate school. This kid at this age, he barely knows how to do anything, right? He comes literally, he's excited, he wears his belt, his technique is all over the place. And now all in his mind, this is like just an extra curriculum activity, right? After some time, this kid starts to learn few skills that he couldn't do before. Now, his next goal is to achieve a belt, right? So now you're looking to achieve a belt. Few months later, he goes for his first belt. Few months after that, he goes for his second belt, and so forth, right? So that becomes the next goal. At this stage, many of the kids start joining competitions, which is the main focus in our karate school. Start joining competitions, and most of the time, 90% of the time, maybe 95% of the time, most kids who join a competition, they do not succeed the first time. It is very difficult to succeed the first time. So you go, you try, you fail, you go try again. Maybe few months later, a few years later, you start to achieve your goals. And again, associating hard work with results. And this truly teaches kids the value of hard work and really instills in them that growth mindset, right? Now, this kid grows into an adult. He goes and he works in a company. And as you know, not everything as most of you know, being professional people, not everything you do at your job is exactly what you learned in school, right? So you have to always adapt a growth mindset. You have to always grow and learn. If you come from a background like that emphasizes this over the course of 10 or 15 or 20 years, you are very capable and ready of you know, adapting this growth mindset and therefore grit and grit and achieving, you know, your goal and the goal of the organization that you are in. So this is my talk for today. I hope it was valuable in any form, way, or shape. If you have any questions, I'll take any questions at the moment. Yes. I have Coach Hussein here. He's the head coach in my karate school, and Coach Haura, she's national team player, and on my national karate team.
Maybe does Haura want to say something?
Yes. I just want to say that Haura just competed 2 weeks ago at the World Championships, Karate World Championships. She was the first Omani woman to do so at the Senior World Championships.
There's just one thing that, okay. There's just one thing that I would say, that over the years I've been training, the thing I learned the most is that every time you want to achieve something big, something great, a lot of things are going to come in your way. And you're going to think about giving up. Why am I doing this? This is not, it's too much, you know. But the support that I get from Sensei Ali, from my family, and they always push me to get better. And, you know, it's just when you want to do something different, you have to do hard things to get there. And it's not easy, but having the support from the people that I just mentioned, it really helps a lot. And I learned a lot that, you know, you want to achieve something, you have to work hard for it. There's no shortcut to it. So, yeah, that's it.
Sadaq, I just want to add something to what
Haura
said. I've been involved in martial arts for 28 years. I was living in the United States for 14, and I've had many students, you know, since they were kids, and now some of them are in college in the US, and some of my students have gone to college here, and I see that people who practice martial arts or any kind of sport, they are very, very good, they're very resilient, right? And no matter how bright you are, there's going to be a time where you're going to get challenged. For example, when we're talking about grit, right, there was a very interesting study that found that grit was inversely related to IQ. And they were not exactly sure why that is. And basically, I think I know the reason. The reason is, I see this all the time in my martial arts club. Some kids are very talented, right? So it is very easy for them to breeze at the beginning. And this is very common, right, in many fields. So it's very easy for them to breeze at the beginning. But there's going to come a point later where you'll get to a point where everybody is good, right? And now you have to work hard. But if you have not been forced to work hard, or the environment didn't force you to work as hard because you're talented or you had IQ, high IQ, then it will be like a strange experience for you. And many of these kids who are very talented at the beginning do quit. The kids who start with less maybe talent are always the ones I find to succeed. And this is also very true because I was teaching at University of Rochester in New York for also 5 years during my graduate study there, and I found this theme to be also true in academia. Kids who seems to be struggling at the beginning, usually do much, much better later in their postgraduate studies. So again, you know, like Haura said, this is probably the most important thing. You have to understand that if you need something, you gotta go work for it. And again, how is this coming back to our conference here? as we go more into the digital realm, our kids and ourselves, we are so used to instant gratification. We want everything fast and easy. So martial arts grounds us back, or whatever sports we do, it's going to ground us back down to understand the value of hard work and putting in time if you want something.
Ali, thank you very much for your talk. I think it was really, really crucial to hear. And one thing I will ask you, please, and if you can ask your colleagues, will you collaborate with the curriculum departments, with Ministry of Education, all various parts, higher, lower, whatever. The reason I think you said something very important that we still don't get as a whole society is fixed mindset versus growth mindset. We all talk about a growth mindset, yeah, we're ready to grow, but we all have a fixed mindset. This is the way you do it. You have to get grades in school. If you get an A, you're awesome. If you get an F, you suck. Yes. I'm sorry for that.
And then, no, if you're an F student, you'll always be an F student. You're absolutely.
Yeah, if you would, please,
yeah,
I would implore you.
Of course, I studied psychology extensively when I was in the US also. I have a minor in psychology, and there are many studies that show basically that brain plasticity, the brain is not as malleable after a certain age, right? Maybe when you're a kid, the brain can form much faster. That's why also I would just want to point now that please limit your kids' interaction with these devices. I see many, many problems with kids coming to my studio, you know. Anyways, what I'm trying to say, there are many studies that show also now, recent studies, that the brain is malleable and it can change at any age. And I have people in my own karate school that have started training well after their 40s. And I can see the improvement on a week-to-week basis. Things that I didn't think that was possible. That honestly, when I started teaching them, I just told them, I was like, I don't know honestly how much this person can improve. But again, you know, it is this growth mindset. The problem is if you have a fixed mindset, and I've seen this in many people, you wouldn't even try hard, right? Because you know, no matter how hard I try or I don't try, it's all going to be the same. I'm an F person, for example. But if you have a growth mindset, you know, today maybe I have an F. If I work harder, I can get a C. And the day after, I'll get a B, and then I'll be an A+. So yes, growth mindset, actually, it is one of these things, right? If you believe it, it reflects in your, you see it in the outside world, then it's like a cycle. If you have a fixed mindset, you're kind of doomed. You have to develop this growth mindset. And again, sports, martial arts, developing any sort of skills develop that. Very good. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ali, for all the good words. Try connecting with Ali, all the school leaders and the education leaders, and see how you can incorporate sports such as martial arts into your system.
I just have to say something here,
okay,
so
okay,
I'll make it short and make it quick,
yeah.
Because I really want to ride on what Camilla said. It was so refreshing to see this perspective after a day. I didn't attend day 1 and day 2, but I imagined that it was all about technology and data and digitization. And I just wanted to say that when we talk about future skills, you're looking at 2 distinct verticals here. You're looking at survival skills, and then you're looking at thrive skills. So you're looking at survive skills, and everything to do with technology, learning, you know, AI and all of that probably comes under survival skills. But it's high time we talk about thrive skills. And when the question came up this morning about what are those 5 skills, and there was this word communication, and all of us in this room are brilliant communicators, no doubting that. But communication has evolved, and the pandemic has taught us that we need to learn catalytic communication. We need to learn cathartic communication. Who in this room is skilled to do that? So yes, those are thrive skills, and what you presented, growth mindset, I had written those down early this morning. I'm talking about learning to be emotionally available. We develop apps for XYZ, but I could tell you, just give your HR a 3-hour course in catalytic communication, and that individual is going to convert employee engagement from 0 to 100 in 3 hours. They're going to minimize turnover in your organization. So these thrive skills, these people-oriented skills, technology, yes, but you've got to balance learning technology with learning people-oriented skills. And we cannot ignore that because we all keep, there is so much of emphasis on technology. And I keep saying, yes, I look like a dinosaur. I am a dinosaur, but I am evolving and we are all embracing technology. But we have to look at things like developing a growth mindset, developing resilience, being emotionally available. And all of this cannot be taught, but they can be learned. And it's up to us, through martial arts, through various other resources, to provide that environment and provide those opportunities for such skills to be learned. I'm sorry I took a lot of your time. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you so much for bringing that. In fact, we as GHEDEX organizers for 20 years strongly believe in this. We're not just about university, college, school, or nursery education. We're trying to bring sports into the stream. Also, Amar and I have been discussing about some things which are taught in some schools like music, drama. So, over to you, Amar.
I think what you said is very correct. All of these are very useful things, and there needs to be more of them here in Oman. So, Sensei Ali, thank you. And it was also interesting because you mentioned patience, which is a future, which now is a future skill, but it's also a very traditional skill, isn't it? So one of the few which traditional and future.